Good morning, Michael Feller here. It's Thursday the 29th of October and you're watching Deals TV on Business Spectator. And this morning, some commentary, of course, on the National Australia Bank and Suncorp, the former of which had its results yesterday and the latter had its annual general meeting. First, there's obviously some deal rumours for NAB, most notably in the United Kingdom, as Stephen Bartholomew's pointed out yesterday evening. The bank has been thought to be eyeing the assets of Lloyds, or several assets, certainly not the whole thing, and also Royal Bank of Scotland, business banking centres south of the border being England and Wales, where there's 300 odd retail and small business lending centres. They're separate, of course, from National Westminster and other banks that the Royal Bank of Scotland group also owns, or should we say the British Treasury also owns. In terms of Suncorp, an extraordinary general meeting yesterday where shareholders were calling for the entire board to fall on their swords. That's not going to happen, of course, but there is still a very distinct possibility that Suncorp may sell its banking assets, whether into Bank of Queensland or that other perennial favourite ANZ, or indeed that they may just restructure the entire business so it looks quite different from what it does today. Probably more of an insurance focus, although it has to be said it virtually is getting all its money from insurance these days. Anyhow, over to another sector entirely, where the Australian Financial Review has reported that a little company called Kangaroo Resources, which mines coal in Indonesia rather than Australia, is possibly raising between $20 and $30 million. The company has a market capitalisation of $100 million, so that's quite a weighty raising if it indeed happens later today or sometime next week. Also, the Financial Review says that Macquarie Group has been sounding out the market about a float for Micylyn Express, which is a marine services company based in Singapore. It's thought, though, that the company may list in Australia rather than Singapore, where the market is perhaps more amenable to those type of companies, considering the success of Mermaid Marine and so forth. Then again, Singapore's stock exchange is very dynamic, so don't rule out perhaps a dual listing completely. Onto other parts of the oil industry now, where ConocoPhillips, it's been reported in Reuters, is probably more likely to sell a company called Syncrude Canada, which has oil sands projects, rather than its 10% stake in Lukoil, the Russian giant, or indeed its assets in Queensland. So that could be good or bad news for the coal seam gas sector based in Gladstone, depending on your point of view. Onto other international deals now, where Geely Automobile from China has bought Ford's Volvo division, Volvo being the Swedish car maker beloved by school principals and other such people. And speaking of cars that teachers drive, SAAB is also owned by Ford and is meanwhile being sold to a company called Koenigsegg, which is known for its extremely fast sports cars. They only make a couple of hundred by hand, I'm told, a year, but they're financing that also through Chinese money. I should have mentioned, if I didn't, that Geely is a Chinese company, and Beijing Automobile Industry Corporation is funding Koenigsegg's bid for SAAB. So we're definitely seeing Chinese automakers expand internationally. Of course, all those rumours several months ago that Dongfeng, a Chinese motor maker, could buy Holden off General Motors. That's been denied repeatedly by the Australian government, by General Motors and by Holden's local management. But then again, the rumour still is quite compelling and would make a lot of sense, we think, from the Chinese perspective, as well perhaps from General Motors' point of view. Anyway, that's all we've got time for today. I'll see you tomorrow.